Hi folks, let's talk a little bit about hardwood. Okay, full disclosure, I don't know a heck of a lot about solid hardwood. I don't sell it, my company doesn't sell it, and when I was in retail, I sold very little of it. So what I can tell you is what I know. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to find out for you. So basically, there's two types of hardwood. There's engineered hardwood and there's solid hardwood. In Alberta, you see a lot of engineered hardwood because what it means to be engineered hardwood means that it's engineered so that it can handle our dry climates a lot better than a solid hardwood can. So because it's natural wood, it's subject to our climate. So it's really humidity sensitive. So relative humidity or RH is super important. And when you go to buy hardwood or talking about hardwood, they're going to tell you what you have to keep your home at in order to maintain the warranty of a hardwood. So you have to have a humidifier in your house, usually built right in or external, but you have to maintain a relative humidity. Now it's usually anywhere from like 30 to up to 60. So species of wood also becomes super important when it comes to that too, because I mean, of course, you see in Alberta and Saskatchewan there are certain types of trees, that do better in our climate. So you get into the exotic woods, things that are grown in tropical climates or really humid climates. They don't do as well here, but of course they're gorgeous, right? So you look at the acacia wood, hickories. There's a long list of them that just do really poorly in Alberta. So they came up with engineered wood, and what it is it's still all wood all the way through it, but I'm gonna do my best to show you. You can see there's layers in here of other wood. So on the top is what they call the veneer. And that'll become hugely important too, because how thick your veneer is usually what determines the price of your hardwood, your engineered hardwood. A lot of people think the thicker the better. Honestly, what it comes down to is the thickness of the actual real wood that you're going for. The less of that there is, the less there is to be affected by the humidity. So, I mean, super thin, yeah. I guess the big appeal to it is if it's a thicker veneer, you can have it sanded and refinished. If it's too thin, they're going to sand through it. They're going to hit these layers underneath, and you just can't do it. So be aware of that. But very few people have their floors sanded and refinished. I mean, I know it's done and it is done, but in seeing cost comparisons to having a floor sanded and refinished versus installing a new engineered hardwood, they can be pretty comparable. So, engineered, these layers of wood underneath the veneer are designed to take the humidity changes and not damage your veneer. So, these ones under here, and they can be made of like all kinds of different wood. But these woods are designed to take that humidity and changes and whatnot and save the veneer. So they call it checking and cracking. And you'll see it, right? Like the biggest thing is gaps between the boards and the hardwood because it shrinks. Because as wood gets dry, it obviously shrinks. And Alberta is really dry. So that is what an engineered hardwood is. A lot of people want to know if they have an engineered hardwood installed or if it's solid. I mean, there's a few ways to tell, but solid generally is a lot thinner. So engineered, usually the smallest is like a 5 inch, and they're getting bigger and bigger, 7.5, even 9 inch width of board, because that's the trend, right? Everybody wants those big long boards. So if you want to know if you have solid hardwood, generally it's 2.5, 3.5 inches. It's those long skinny boards that you see. But you can get solid hardwood in wider boards. So if you're ever really wanting to know, you can pull out your vent, your heating register, and you can look to see, do you see these layers of wood? Or does it look like a solid chunk of wood all the way through? And yeah, pulling out your heat register is usually the fastest way to test that. Now, hardwood is beautiful, probably the most coveted flooring out there, but also the softest and probably the most finicky because it is natural wood. So, you drop something, it's going to dent. You drag something across the floor, it's going to scratch, like almost guaranteed. But a lot of people find that that adds the character to the wood. And, if you pick the right wood and stuff like that, like it doesn't really matter. And I mean, you can go into the Jenka hardness scale and all of that kind of stuff with the hardwoods. But at the end of the day, it's still just wood. And it doesn't matter, a harder wood might take a little more damage, it might leave a smaller dent, but it's probably still going to dent. So, that being said, kids, pets, heavy hard house that's busy in sports and kids playing hockey on the floor, it's not going to take it very well, so it's probably not your best option. Other than that, it comes in like, so what I do know about solid, so solid is a little different than like most of them come pre-stained now. So you walk into a flooring store and you're like, oh, I like that color, I like that color. But with a solid wood, what you can do is pick your species, pick your size, like how big of boards you want, and then pick your stain. And then they do what they call a site finish. So they'll install the hardwood raw and then they'll stain it to the color that you want. I personally have never dealt with a company that does that. All the stuff I've ever sold, even in my retail days, was pre-stained. But that is, and what a lot of people consider that a true hardwood install, site stained, site finished. I'm not sure what else I can tell you. I mean, there's a lot of ins and outs to the installation of hardwood, a lot of debate. I know it's more expensive, and generally it's more expensive if you pick a wider board. So if you go above a 5-inch, a lot of stores and installers are going to insist on what they call a glue assist. So they're going to want to nail it as well as glue it down. Just they find the wider boards just handle it better. It's just a more guaranteed install. And a lot of these flooring stores and installers will guarantee their work. So they try to, make sure that they do a really good job. So if you're wondering why hardwood flooring is more to install, that's generally why. And it takes more time because you are using a nailer and you're nailing them down and you got to cut them and stuff like that. But it's honestly beautiful. And like I said, the most coveted floor. You can get just about anything nowadays. The one thing to be careful of is if you have in-mass in-floor heating. So, water embedded pipes in concrete or something like that. Some hardwoods will not warranty over top of that just because you're kind of cooking it from underneath. Now, some do. Generally, the rule is that you can only increase your temperature 5 degrees a day over the course of however many days that, to get it up to the temperature you want. You can't just crank it because you will cook the wood, cook the glue. And I mean, that goes for just about anything, actually. Vinyl flooring is, especially glue down vinyl floor, you're going to cook the glue if you just crank your in-floor heating. So there it is. Just the basics on hardwood. If you have any questions, let me know and I would be happy to answer them. Okay. Happy Wednesday, guys.